Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to talk about my most anticipated book releases for the first quarter of 2023. So that is going to be January through March of next year. And I am so excited about all the books on this list. So let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. We are starting off with a bang. On January 3rd, The Stolen Heir by Holly Black is coming out. This is book one in a spin-off or companion duology to the iconic Cruel Prince trilogy. And I have this stunning cover from the Dusty shop. I will link their shop down in the description below. Love their dust jackets. But what is so exciting about talking about this release is that I am hosting a Folk of the Air read-along with some amazing friends of mine, Christy, Melissa, Chandler, and Samantha. I will be sure to link all of them down in the description below. So that readathon is going to take place throughout the entirety of January, and you will find all of the information for this read-along on my Instagram. All of my social media links are down in the description below. I have a highlight saved on my Instagram profile where you can find all the information, such as when all of the live shows are going to be and things like that. But I am so pumped for a new book in this world and in this series. And I think, I really don't know much about this book because I don't want to know anything. I do know that Oak, who was a featured character in the Cruel Prince trilogy, is going to be featured quite a bit in this. I believe he's going to be a pretty major character. But yeah, other than that, I know nothing and I don't want to know anything. I am just so excited. Next up, we have a couple more January releases that I want to talk about. Next is Maniac by Onley James. This is the, I believe, 7th and final book in her Necessary Evil series, which is a dark serial killer romance series that is incredible. I started it this year and it blew me away, took me by surprise. I did not expect to love this series as much as I do, but the basic synopsis is that we have the 7 Mulvaney brothers. These are 7 psychopaths who were adopted by Thomas Mulvaney, who is a psychiatrist, a scientist of some kind, and so he raised them to become vigilante serial killers. And so this is gonna be quite the romance. And I don't want to spoil whose romance this is going to be, because this is a romance that gets introduced in book 3, Moonstruck, and then gets developed throughout the rest of the series. I'm sure I haven't read past book 3 yet, but I don't want to ruin for you who this romance is between. But these are all romances, and they are sweet and sexy, and there's really great suspenseful elements in them as well. Like, yeah, this is just an amazing series that you absolutely need to check out. Next up, we have a couple of historical romances that are coming out on January 24th. First is One Duke Down by Anna Bennett. Can we just appreciate this cover together? Because it's truly one of my favorite historical romance covers ever. I'm obsessed with the orange gown, the way that they're smiling at each other, because usually with clinch covers, they're very serious and dramatic. So this is book 2 in her Rogues to Lovers series. I have no idea what this is about, and I really don't need to know, because I read book 1 of the series. I think it's called Girl Meets Earl. Yes? I loved that book, and I didn't expect to, because Anna Bennett is a pretty new to me author. But I'm just really excited to see what Anna Bennett does with this series. And like I said, I'm just so excited about this cover. So I hope that the story inside lives up to how amazing and beautiful this cover is. Next up, we have The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shupe, my Gilded Age romance queen. Oh my God. We are finally getting book 4 in the 5th Avenue Rebel series. We're finally getting the Duke of Lockwood and Nellie's romance. This has been built up, I'm pretty sure, since the beginning of the series, and I'm just dying for the Duke of Lockwood to get his happily ever after, because he's just been through a lot. The cover is spectacular. I'm so happy to see that Joanna Shupe is still getting these stunning beautiful clinch covers. All of the covers in this series are home runs in my opinion. Oh my god, I just can't wait to read this as soon as it comes out. Next up, let's go ahead and get into, oh, I do have one more January release. That is Chain of Thorns, which is coming out January 31st. This is the third and final book in the Last Hours trilogy, which is the latest series in the Shadowhunter Chronicles universe by Cassandra Clare. So this is a spin-off trilogy to the Infernal Devices series, which is my top favorite series within this universe. So I read book one in this trilogy called Chain of Gold last year or the year before, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't continue on because I wanted to wait for the third and final book to come out. So when this comes out, I'm definitely gonna go back and reread some of the Shadowhunter books so that I'm well prepared to go into this latest release. Next up, we are going into February. We have 3 books coming out on February 7th that I'm looking forward to. First up is Radiant Sin by Katie Robert. So this is book 4 in her Dark Olympus series. It seems like there's definitely more than 4 books out in this series, doesn't it? I think because Katie Robert is very open about talking about her writing process and she's already writing like book 6 or 7, it feels like there's already a million books out in this series, but this is about Cassandra and Apollo. I don't know anything about the plot beyond that, and I really don't need to know. This is just such a fun world that this series takes place in, and I just always have a good time with pretty much anything I read by Katie Robert, so I'm sure I'll really enjoy this. Next up on February 7th is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This is book 1 in a new series that's called A Vine Mess. This is a steamy new rom-com about a starchy professor and the bubbly neighbor he clashes with at every turn. Sold! I love Tessa Bailey. I have enjoyed everything that I've read by her. I don't need to know anything more than that. This sounds like it's gonna be great, and I adore this cover. Next up on February 7th, we have Curled Up with an Earl. This is by Amy Rose Bennett. This is book 2 in her Byronic Book Club series. Again, I don't know anything about this plot. I don't need to because I loved book 1, which was Up All Night with a Good Duke. That one was about our heroine who is a gothic romance writer and our hero Dominic, who is a reclusive duke, and that gave me all the gothic romance vibes that I needed, and I'm just really excited to read more from this series and from this author. So next we are getting into later in February. We have Powerless by Elsie Silver coming out on February 10th. I don't have a ton of indie romances or indie books on here just because usually indie authors don't really announce their releases that far in advance. But this is book 3 in her Chestnut Spring series. I know this is going to be Jasper's romance, who is a character we met in Flawless, which is book 1. I have not read book 2 yet, which is Heartless, but that is a book that so many of my friends have been hyping up, and I cannot wait to read that ASAP. I loved Flawless, like I said, which is book 1, so I'm very excited to see what Jasper's story is going to bring to the table. Then we have on February 21st, Way of the House Husband Volume 9. This is just a silly and ridiculous slice of life manga series that I have absolutely adored this past year. I read all 8 volumes that are currently out in the span of like a month or so. This is a ridiculous story about Tatsu, who was part of the Yakuza, and he left that life to marry his now wife Miku and become a house husband, and it's just ridiculous and so hilarious, so I'm really excited for volume 9 to come out. Alright, so we're already moving into some March releases. On March 7th, we are finally getting The Portrait of a Duchess by Scarlett Peckham. This is book 2 in her Society of Sirens series, so I feel like we've been waiting forever for this book because book 1, which is the Rakes, which I personally loved that book. I know a lot of people gave this book 3 stars. I love that book so much, but that came out maybe early 2020. Like, it feels like it's been forever. And so we are finally getting book 2. This cover is everything. I will say at first, I was not a fan of the font because it just looked really old school and like in not the best way upon first glance, but now that I've looked at the cover a bit and sat with it, I really do love this cover as a whole. I mean, purple's my favorite color, and I'm just so excited to see what Scarlett Peckham does with this series because, like I said, book 1 was absolutely spectacular in my opinion. Next up we have Defiant, which is book 4 in Brandon Sanderson's Skyward series. I don't even think we have a cover yet, now that I'm looking at it, but it is listed as coming out on March 16th of next year. So I'm kind of surprised we don't have a cover yet. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series, but I heard that there's not going to be that many. There might be like 5 or so books total. I'm not really sure, but I read book 1, Skyward, late last year, and it was one of my absolute top favorite books of the year. For some reason, I never continued on. I think in the back of my mind, I wanted to wait until all of the books came out and then I would read them. So I'm probably going to have to reread Skyward at some point and then jump into the rest of the series. But this is a spectacular YA science fiction series. I cannot recommend it enough. So I'm very excited to see that another book is coming out pretty soon. Then on March 21st, we have volume 9 of Spy Family. This is a manga series that is very near and dear to my heart. Absolutely one of my probably top 3 favorite manga series ever. This is an epic spy adventure mixed with a fake found family element, and it's adorable and cozy, yet epic and crazy and hilarious. This truly just has something for everyone, and I'm so excited that volume 9 is coming out soon. This is a series that I've been savoring. I've read volume 6, so I only have volume 7 and 8 to read before I have to wait. I'm definitely gonna wait a couple of months before I read volume 7 because I don't want to have to wait around for the next installment to come out. So next up is a book that's coming out March 14th, so I'm gonna go a little bit back in time, but this was originally released to come out March 30th, so that's why I still had it listed that way. But this is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. So this sounds like it's gonna be another cozy mystery from this author, kind of like her Dial A for Aunties series was. This says Vera Wong is a lonely little old lady who lives above her forgotten tea shop in the middle of San Francisco's Chinatown. Despite living alone, she's not needy. She likes nothing more than sipping on a good cup of oolong and doing some healthy detective work on the internet about what her Gen Z son is up to. Then one morning, Vera sees a dead man in the middle of her tea shop. In his outstretched hand, there is a flash drive. So sounds like things go on from there. And this sounds like it's gonna be a fun time. It already has a very high average rating from people that have been reading the ARC. So that's going to be it for all the books that I'm really excited about that are coming out in January through March of 2023. Definitely let me know if there are more releases that you guys are anticipating. It is entirely possible that I forgot some books on this list. So definitely let me know. I would also love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!